Good morning, audience. Good morning, loyal audience, friends, beautiful people, uh, only uh, nice people, righteous people. Uh, Today's ad hoc rant is about a couple of reports. One is they're bragging in the media that United States provided Ukraine with intelligence that led to the sinking of the Moskva, that destroyer ship in the Black Sea. Boy, these guys are shameless. They're brazen, shameless, liars, deceivers, you name it. Here is the fact, folks. Nothing is provided to Ukraine, uh, not by any establishment in the West, US, NATO, EU, Germany, or anybody else. Nothing is provided to Ukraine. Uh, every establishment in the West is fully supporting Pustalenin and Russia fully. Intelligence, financial stability, you name it. They are supporting Pustalenin tooth and nail, and I assure you, if they did not support Russia and Pustalenin on daily basis, that regime in Russia would have collapsed long time ago, almost 2 months ago. Notice, for example, the ruble. In the first week, it went up to 160 or even more. And then, like in a few days, it was lowered and still being lowered. That's not internal, folks. That is support by ECB. That's support by the Feds in the US. That's support by all those establishments in the West under the umbrella of Israel. Don't buy all that bullshit about Nazism, although it is right. What he stated is right. And the next statement Lavrov is going to make, that Nazi is Jewish and ISIS is Jewish. He is right, but he is also right not saying what Lavrov and what Putin are, and they're nothing but Israelis, right? Similar to the Ayatollahs, similar to the Assad of Syria, similar to Sisi, in Gulf Arab countries, and so on. But that's not the subject here. The subject is the West, establishment in the West, and under the umbrella of Israel, of course, all those Iranians, Chinese, you name it, are shocked and dismayed by the loss and the failure of Russia in Ukraine. That wave that was supposed to take over Europe basically just faltered, and that's not something that they were counting on. The plan was to take over Europe and change the history of it, destroy its past, and then completely wash whatever it was, and then start from scratch. And then whatever is left of it, really, Russia was going to do in Europe what they did in Europe in World War II and World War I, for that matter. Not just Russia, but also what happened in World War I and World War II and so on was going to be completed this time around by Russia. So nothing has changed. The West is angry. The West is dismayed. Those establishments, whether here or in Europe or in China or in Iran or in Syria or in Africa, here and there, those establishments are angry and dismayed and disappointed and flabbergasted and stumped that Russia faltered. This move toward the West in Europe was nothing short of Iran moving into Syria and Iraq and here and there. Similar to it, their sister revolutions, right? Their sister movements and entities, the Nazism and communism and Iran's revolution, Chinese revolution for that matter, communism in general, right? Wherever it is, Cuba, South America, Middle East, China, Vietnam, and so on. Yes, 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 yes. Do not dispute this fact, period. And then there comes the Iran's movement, that revolution, and then the Muslim Brotherhood, and the Gamal Nasser, and the Gulf rulers, and the intervention, of England in that place, and installing those regimes, and then Iraq, and then Chechnya, you name it, folks. These are all the same branches of the same trunk of the same springing, budding from the same root. But now the fact of the matter is very simple. It is this that Nothing has changed. The plan is for Russia to take over Europe, and the United States and everybody is helping. But the whole machine, the whole train have come to a halt, and the tracks are basically gone. And that's what it is, folks. So don't kid yourself about. You may settle down to thinking that now Russia is defeated in Ukraine and that's it. No, that's not it, folks. So that's point number one. Point number two, you always have to be ready. Scandinavia, I will repeat the same point. Don't fall in the trap of this NATO and EU and so on. If you go into NATO, they will dictate to you your defense, and they will make sure that your defense is stable. Don't surrender your own safety into their hands, because their plan is really to bring in Russia and invade Europe, and that's that. This Europe, as you've known for thousands of years, is no longer allowed to exist by Israel. Is no longer your citizens are no longer allowed to exist by to have money on their own. You know, they're preparing this Israeli Bitcoin to replace and substitute for your euro and dollar and so on. This movement into Europe, folks, is not one iota different from the pandemic, period. Well, you got the rest, right? You can explain the rest. In that case, whoever you are, if you care for your country, whether Scandinavia or Germany or Italy or Eastern Europe or Poland or Baltics or Spain or France or anywhere else, you would fight against this movement. And now, you know, you guys got very lucky that Ukraine pulled a miracle. There was a divine intervention in Ukraine. You may doubt that, but this is truth, folks. So don't wait until and give a chance and reprieve for Pustalenins to correct their movement and come back again. Don't do that, folks, because they're gonna come back again, time and again, and eventually you will tire from defending yourself, and eventually you will probably falter. You know, I doubt it, but you can't rely on natural occurrence of things. You know, you have to be proactive. You have to intervene in the evolution of politics and military and so on in Europe. You can't, folks. You cannot sit back and relax. So that's point number two. Point number three, and remember, this movement into Europe is no different from the pandemic. And the Bitcoin of Israel is in the back, or hunching in the back, moving along. If I wanna use the analogy to compare it to a human being, right? Hunchback, right? Moving behind, like behind all these armies, behind all these regimes, behind all these establishments. That hunchback is moving, and got his bag of Bitcoin and so on. So Europeans, you can disregard all that I say, but trust me, don't have children, because they are going to suffer the consequences of your negligence in fighting off and protecting their future. That's all I'm saying for now. Now, point number three is very simple, folks. I read a report today that says that Lavrov is accusing Ukraine of erasing everything that is Russian. No. For all that, this guy accuses others of what he is really and what he is doing. For all that he's done in Syria, for all that he's done in Chechnya, for all that he's done in Afghanistan. I mean that cabal of Pustalenin, right? For all the horror they did in Europe in the last century. For all the gulags of Siberia, for all the mass murder they've done in Central Asia, and I would, without hesitation, erase everything Russian, because that corner, ever since communism manifested itself, and stood up, reared its ugly head is what I should use, the term I should use to describe them. On Lenin and Stalin, ever since that movement reared its ugly head, nothing but harm and torture and torment and killing and mass murder and corrupting of the masses and came out of that movement, and still does, folks. This guy is bragging about this punk. Lavrov is bragging about Ukraine. Oh, what is he doing in Ukraine himself, right? Last I looked, Ukraine didn't kill its own people. Now, I'm not talking about the establishment in Ukraine. I'm talking about the people and the military of Ukraine. Ukrainian people, they're pretty good people. Not all of them, but they're just like any other nation. That's what it is, folks. That's point number 3. Point number 1 is don't believe that there's a change of support by the West for Ukraine. That's not the case, folks. That hasn't changed. They're in support of Russia and they're against Ukraine. They're providing Russia with every possible help that Russia can use to defeat Ukraine, but that's not going to happen, of course. And 2, Europeans, especially Scandinavia, don't fall in the trap of NATO. I'll give you an example. I gave you this example before. If Russia attacks Finland, and they threaten you and Finland, Sweden and Finland, and guess what? That's a threat for all the Scandinavian countries, because if Sweden and Finland fall, you know what? I don't think Denmark and Norway will stand in the way of Pustalenin, right? Or even Iceland and whoever. They're going to take that too, right? So if they attack Finland, you, Sweden, have been attacked. Why? Because it is well known that Russia threatened both of you. So if they attack Finland, you're next. There's no doubt to this, right? So if they attack Finland, you have to go and fight in Finland. You can't wait until they're on your border. You have to fight the fight away from yourself, from your own border. And now NATO will intervene, say, no, you can't escalate, right? Remember, Germany, self-restraint, no escalations, and you remember? Still doing it, right? Still doing it. Germany is not doing anything because they're NATO, right? Telling them not to escalate, not to intervene, and they're playing this psychotic spinning zone on you about Putin hinting at nuclear war and so on and so forth. People don't even wait on that. Don't even take it into consideration. So you have to fight in Finland, you Swedes. Now, if you do, NATO is going to come and say, you're part of NATO, you cannot escalate. And what are you going to do then? Well, you have to wait, right? And then now, Finland is taken by Russia. So they're going to come to you. Well, that happened in history. They were actually in Finland last century. And they have in Finland, in the leadership of Finland, they do have minions and they do have bots and Trojans, and they have all kind of help in the government of Finland, right? Now they're on your border. So you're going to fight. Oh, yes. No different from Ukraine. NATO is going to profess that they're going to help you but they will be assisting Russia, right? And then you'll have to fight your own fight. Basic and simple. I can't make this any simpler. Folks, you Scandinavians, don't fall for these tricks, for these innuendos, for these treacherous maneuvers of whatever NATO and EU and so on and so forth. The moment Russia moves against Finland, Sweden and Norway and Denmark and even Holland, Netherlands should immediately join the fight. In fact, you should join it now in Ukraine, is all I'm saying. So repeat after me. You're a Ukrainian, you're a Nazi. You're a Syrian, you're ISIS. You're a white person, you're a Nazi. You're Muslim, you're a terrorist. Have a nice day, my friends. And talk to you later.